Okay, so today we're going to look at how to insert a PolarStar Jack into a M249. There's like no videos online of how to actually do this, so I figured I'd make it myself. So what I did actually, this PolarStar is actually from Amped, and this line is from Amped that I got. If you're going to insert your own jack into your 249, you want to make sure you have the right parts. I bought, if you can see these on here, I bought this part. I bought a jack nozzle for the M249. I bought the trigger lead for the M249. And I bought a grip. The thing is, what they don't tell you is the grip line that they have inside there, this does not actually fit. This one right here from Amped doesn't actually fit through here. So you have to actually drill a hole. If you can see over here, what I have is I have it drilled into the side of my stock because this actually can fit out the back of it. And you'll see how that's done later. Forgive me, I have a little bit of a cold right now. But so the first thing you got to do is when you look at the actual M249, there's going to be two bolts right here and right here, and you got to make sure that you take those out. And then there's going to be another one over here. So right where the sliding handle is, it's going to be right there. You got to take that out so you can get the charging handle out. And flip this over real quick. What I'm using today is a little screwdriver with a whole bunch of like little things on the top so that I can actually get all this stuff out. So, and here's a little card that says we got this stuff from Amped. They sent it with us when we bought it from them. So the first thing, just open this, take off your mag, get this out of the way, turn the actual thing around, and you gotta make sure you take out this little screw here. So if you look inside there, there's a screw that's right here, and on the other side there's a little screw tab, and you just take that off, and it pops out this little pin here. It's a little bit tricky to get out, so you got to kind of hammer it out if you can. So get that part out. Make sure you keep all your parts away from like easy places to lose them, because there's a lot of parts, moving parts in this. So once you get that done, open up your back here. Let me move this back out again. Open up the back, and then just slide out your entire. This thing is kind of tricky to slide out, but you got to kind of maneuver it around so that it can actually just push up in the air like that, and just slide it out the back, and that's what you're working with. So now we have this thing out of, we're just going to move this out of the way. It does take a little bit of space, and we'll move this a little closer so that everyone can see it. I know a lot of videos online just are kind of hard to see. So depending on if you have your gearbox like stuff inside of it or not, mine's already gutted out, so you don't have to like watch me take all the gears out. But one thing you got to make sure when you're actually taking this apart is making sure you have all this stuff apart. There's like this little spring here, this little thing. You take this off, so this is here, and you unscrew, there's a screw right here, and these two things come off. There's a whole bunch of little screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think there's 10 screws that are on this. And so in order to actually open up this, you gotta unscrew these things. I actually forgot, so this part right here, this is a trigger, you can see that. This little trigger gets set off by a little pin by the trigger on the gun. These two bolts, you want to make sure you leave these two in, because if you see inside here, that keeps it intact. And if you mess around with this trigger, what I figured out the hard way is that your little pin that comes up and pushes this won't work. So then your thing won't shoot. So you got to kind of watch that when you're actually opening this up. Let me just unscrew all this. I think I only have one in there. Okay, so now that this is off, you're going to see all these gears usually inside here. Get this focused real quick. You're going to see all these little gears inside here. There's the motor back here. You're going to have your little piston up here. And this is your trigger. You want to make sure you keep this inside here. And what you're going to buy is this trigger lead that I had showed earlier from Amped. This is this little part right here. So see this line that runs into here? This is what you buy from them, and this allows you to run this farther out. So another part that I had bought is, if I can find the little part here, this universal, this focuses ever, this little plug board or universal switchboard is this part right here. This can focus on there. It's that little part right there, that little green part. And this is the port where all these little plugs stick into. So I already have this thing hooked up to here. It's gonna be kind of hard to show which is what. Just have the blue cable going to the top here, and then this one have the black. And then this plugs into the exact spot I have on here. So the next thing we're gonna look at is actually getting the whole thing set up. So once you get the actual jack inside here, there's a little groove right here that this groove right here sits on. So you just set that in there, you'll hear it click. And so what I actually did, if you look on here, is I drilled out this hole a little bit in the back to stick my line in. So it's just easier for me to be able to get this out the back. If you have something that's not a amped line, then you can run it out the bottom here, and it will go out through the trigger or through the grip of your gun. But this is how I did mine. It's just easier that way, I think. So then your FCU and this little plug, you're gonna have this run out back here. And so when you look on this little switchboard here, let's see if I can get it a little bit more focused. This plugs into the middle. It's pretty self-explanatory. Your FCU plugs in the middle, just make sure you have it hooked up the right way. This is your universal, your trigger switch that goes to your trigger board. This is your FCU. The only other thing that you're going to be plugging in is the actual cord from the jack. So this one right here. This one's going to plug in over here. So if you can see this, turn this. That's how they go on. So this one right here that I'm pointing at is the jack one, the middle one is the FCU, and over here is the trigger board. So the easiest way to put this inside here is to actually just leave it up here, and then run this FCU out the back, and then just kind of squish everything in. And then let's make sure everything's in here right. Just make sure nothing's blocking anything. Just check around, and then you're going to screw everything in again. Make sure those are all screwed in. There's a lot of them, so I only usually do about 3 of them, because you don't need all of them in here, because you don't have any gears that are being set down. Oh, one thing I forgot actually, before I start going, is another part that I forgot to switch. So I'm not sure if you actually need this, but if you look on the jack here, this part screws off. And then this little nozzle just pops out. This was my M4 nozzle. And Amped, actually, I bought this from Amped. It's an M249 nozzle. I don't really know if you need it, but I've been doing it just because. So I think it's just a little bit shorter so that this actually can fit into the feeding area. So just put that in there, screw that in real tight, and then stick it inside here again. And then just make sure everything's covered up once again. Make sure your trigger's all good, set that down, and then we should be good to go. Next thing you want to make sure you do is have this piece. It's kind of might be hard to see on here if it focuses. Well, you probably can't see it, but there's a little groove on this thing, and you want to make sure that this is upright, because when you put this little piece onto here, it kind of sits awkwardly, and you want to make sure that everything is on here right. Because this is the spring actually that is holding your entire, your little like grip. So this screw goes right in here. Yeah, this goes into, this goes to your little like pullback charging handle, and to make sure it stays put, and you just put the little spring on there. So that's the spring. Let me put this up a little bit higher so you guys can see. And what else do we have to do here? Get all these parts out of the way. So next thing you do, so this should be how it looks. We can test this by grabbing air and a battery. So put your battery on. And plug your air in. Make sure you listen for any leaks in your thing. You'll know if it's like jacked up. You'll hear something like go a little wrong. Also check and make sure FCU is working. So click on that. Yep, we're good. And the last thing that we can do to check is just to pull it. Oh, I forgot. This isn't clicked down. Just shot. So it's shooting semi, and you'll see this when you do your jacks. You got to go to your FCU and go to your shot. Your very first where it says S1, 0, 1. So I have it on single right now. If you go to 0, then you should be shooting full auto. So I just switched it. I always forget to do this. Click down. There you go. So it's shooting full auto now. So that's one thing you got to watch for when you're doing this, is that this little FCU guy here can change on you. So if you have it set to single and auto like most places do, or most guns do, you got to make sure you switch that back when you do this. So make sure it's on auto and auto so it shoots full auto regardless, because who wants to shoot this on semi? So now that we have this working, I'm going to unplug it just so we're safe when we're getting this thing set up. And we're going to bring back our camera. and bring back our giant LMG. So, and make sure this lighting's a little better for you. So, how I did it is, like I said, I drilled out the back here. That's where I'm putting my hose. So, I push this down and very carefully push this back up inside in here. And the way that I do it is actually a little bit easier because you don't have to take off, let's get this thing in here. You don't have to take off the grip. So most places, they recommend you putting it through the grip, and it comes out the bottom here. And this way's easier because you can just flip this down and put it inside. I put mine in my M4, so it's a bit more pain in the butt to like actually switch these out in the middle of a airsoft day. So I usually pull. Actually, no, I don't. Put my FCU back into here. This thing is a struggle. So let's make sure this FCU is set up right. And stick this thing through the stock back so that you can put your battery in it, of course. So once you get that all set up, it should nicely, smoothly just close on you for there. And it should come out the back here. This is what I did. I don't recommend you doing that if you don't want to like break something, but this is the easiest way I could do it. And now I grab my, where's the little screw I had? Take this screw back again, if we can see this. Take this, stick it through here, and on the other side screw it in. This holds your gearbox in place. Another thing that's probably good to do is make sure that your charging handle is back on here right. So you gotta like kind of line that back up. There, so now that's on there. And then you just put the screws back in. I'll put the screws back in real quick. So you should only have 3 screws to put in. And so that screw right there keeps that from catching. So that catches so it doesn't, this spring doesn't fly off if you do that. Next ones you want to put in are these. And you'll know that those are right if they're lined up correctly, because if your gearbox isn't pushed in all the way, which kind of looks like mine, no it's not. If your gearbox isn't pushed up all the way to the front, then these won't line up, and you'll know that your thing won't feed correctly. So screw those back in, and that should be it. We'll throw our line back on again, and we'll make sure that it's working. And you're good to go.